Hello, this is Spicy Dungeoneer, and welcome to my new channel where we talk about all things Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games, board games, fantasy, adventure, all the exciting stuff. So let's get into it while I introduce to you what this channel is going to be about. So you might be familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. It's one of the most popular RPGs out there. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since first edition in high school. I've done lots of homebrewing, I've done lots of DMing, I've done lots of playing, but not only Dungeons and Dragons, but other similar role-playing swords and sorcery adventure games, as well as other board games, strategy games, all of that stuff. And I thought to myself, I've got all of this material that I've created over time, and it's just sitting around, and why don't I share it with other interested people? Maybe they might like to try some of the things that I've created. It's going to be exciting. You might enjoy doing this for your own games as well as a DM, or actually introducing it as a player in the campaign that you're playing in, if your DM allows. So, I have played a lot of RPGs. Some of my favorites are like Conan, the Slaying Celtic ones. I've run Norse campaigns. I've run Wild Weird West-like campaigns. I've also played MERP and other systems like that were more or less complex than Dungeons and Dragons. They're all good. They all have something to add. I know Dungeons and Dragons is much more popular. It is the most popular one. Masquerade was another good one. So over time, if there's interest in it, we'll get into some of that as well. Board games, well, Game of Thrones, Stone Age, Shadow over Camelot, they're some of my favorites. Dungeon Crawl and Talesman. I used to make what I call Celtic chess, and Hnefna Tafel, which is sort of like old Celtic and Viking games. So the Battle Law was also a good one, and so we'll be able to talk about that sort of stuff as well. Not only that, but actually running large-scale battles in your Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. In terms of card games, I have played things like Bonanza and Magic. Of course, poker and various other types of card games like 500 and stuff like that. Game of Thrones, Give Me the Brain. I'm up for a little card game as well. They're all good fun. I am really interested in the fantasy genre, sword and sorcery, science fiction, cyberpunk, all the punks, including solar punk and aether punk. I like myths and legends. I've based some of my campaigns on like Norse mythology and things like that. So I've got some good campaign worlds that I'd like to share with you. So in these videos, we're going to talk about classes and lineages and backgrounds and archetypes and quests, things that you can do in campaigns, ideas about skills and abilities. What do I like about D&D? How has it changed over time? How could we make it better? What might even happen in the future, since we have new versions of D&D coming out very soon? What are some house rules that you might like to use in your games? Or, how you could become a better storyteller while you're DMing your games as well as some character optimization. Or as well, I don't like to push too hard into making the biggest damage dealer, for example. So we will look at that, but also we'll look at ways that you can make interesting characters. So I've got some ideas for new races and classes in D&D, and we'll talk about that. Although I think that realistically we want to get away from using the words race and class, and so we'll talk about that as well in future videos. There'll be new monsters and adventure hooks, things that we can get into, to ways that you can role play different versions of D&D, like if you want to do a more horror campaign, or you want to do one that's based in a different world. there'll be all sorts of new campaign settings. I kind of get a little bit bored of the whole vanilla fantasy worlds that, don't get me wrong, I love them and they're a lot of fun, but I also like to play with those sort of stereotypes and see what else we can come up with. That's why I do Western campaigns, or what I call Wild Weird West, and also ones based in sort of a more Asian setting. And speaking of Asian settings, things like Oriental D&D or OD&D, they were really great in my time. What else could we do? Like, we don't see a lot of role-playing stuff about Australia or Africa or even other countries. So I'm interested in exploring those things and going beyond what is more common. And of course, we've got the OGL and all of the interesting things that are happening in D&D with making it Creative Commons and public domain, and what's going to happen in the future. And there's new versions of D&D coming out, and is it going to be compatible with the old versions, and all of this stuff that's going on. So we'll talk about that in future videos as well, hopefully. So I think that we're going to have some interesting conversations, and I encourage you to do that. Please subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you can keep up to date with my future videos. And this helps me to sort of spread the word, but also, don't be frightened to post a message down below. Let me know what you would like to talk about when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing, even other smaller role-playing games. Do you have a role-playing game that you like? Let me know in the comments below. I will read all of my comments, and I really look forward to engaging with you and having some really interesting conversations. So let's get into it. So thanks a lot for listening to this one, and I will see you on the flip side.